Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros. Hope that everyone is doing well. And I want to talk to you just for a few minutes about the importance of not being hooked on these devices, our phones. And it's very easy to use your phone as a tool to unwind. You know, when you're exhausted, you had a tough day, right? You had a rough day at work. A lot of people, they unwind, and what they do is they start scrolling on social media. And I used to do it a bit. I keep it real. I used to do it quite a bit. And what I realized is the time, it goes by so quick. You're scrolling, and next thing you know, like 2 or 3 hours have gone by. And it's just not the best way to unwind. There's other ways to unwind. And I would recommend also no screen time, at least an hour before going to bed. Unless, you have to, because you got to use your laptop or whatever, device due, to business reasons. That's understandable. But I started doing that, and I see the difference. I see that I'm sharper mentally. I'm going to sleep and my mind is not racing how it used to. I used to just kind of, you're thinking about the things that you saw. All these images on social media, all this stuff, all these videos, right? And like I said, there's nothing wrong with social media. I mean, sometimes, you're going to see something that makes you laugh. You want to share it with somebody else. I get that. But I have made this change for some time now, and I see a very big difference. I see that I'm having a much easier time falling asleep. And when I go into the office, I feel focused. I feel sharp mentally. I'm not really thinking about anything that I saw, because I'm not, having that screen time how I used to. So I would recommend that, because like I said, nowadays, kids, adults, everyone is just hooked on their phone. We have kind of lost touch, that human touch, if you know what I mean. We lost that, and it's just everybody's on their phone constantly. And like I said, I know that we're living in a different time. We're living in a time where technology has boomed through the roof. In the last 20 years. It's just incredible how we have access, to so much information with our phones. It's just incredible. It truly is incredible how far we have come. But again, there's also the dark side to it. And when you're just hooked on your phone, it's overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. It will consume you if you let it. And it can get to the point that also, when you're on it constantly, there's the dangers too of social media. There's always a trend. There's always somebody, showing off something or doing something crazy. And sometimes we let that stuff get to us. We let status get to us. You see people showing, their cars. They got a new car. They got a big home, whatever the case is. Next thing you know, you're feeling bad about yourself. And you shouldn't be feeling bad about yourself. A lot of times, when you see somebody driving a really nice car, you have no idea what kind of debt that person may be in. We're living in a time where people are living beyond their means. You get a big raise and instead of being disciplined with what you make, right? The income that you're generating, instead of being disciplined, you spend more. It happens a lot. And that's not the way to live. That's not a healthy way to live. You don't gotta put yourself in debt to impress somebody else. And again, that goes back to a lot of times is what you're getting caught up on, watching on social media. It's just so many trends. It's sometimes there's things that it's just toxic. It's not really good for us. But like I said, not all the things on social media is bad. Not all is toxic. There are good things and there are positive things. There are people that are posting positive motivational messages, and I'm all for that. I'm down with that. But like I said, just be very careful. If you find yourself, hooked on your phone, try to make changes from this moment on. Start making better decisions. And, just don't be scrolling like crazy, Get off that, maybe start reading a book. Do something that's going to help you grow instead of just being hours and hours scrolling, it just consumes your time. So that's my advice, for you today. And, try to stay away from screen time at least an hour before you go to sleep. And believe me, it happened with me, and I see a very big difference. I see a big difference. I see how my performance, at work, even just to go to sleep, I'm sleeping better. There's not all this noise, in my head. So that's one of the ways, to turn down the noise is not having screen time before you go to bed, So you want to do that. It's healthier. It's a healthier way to live, for your mental health and everything. I would recommend it. So yeah, please, as always, make time to rest. Get proper rest. Always watch out with what you put in your body. And I always say this because I have witnessed some terrible things happen to people that have made bad choices with nutrition. So please take care of yourself, young or old. Watch out with what you eat. Try to eat healthier if you're not doing so, and make time to go to the gym, work out, because it's good for you. It's healthy. So I hope that you all have a beautiful and very blessed evening, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.